Welcome everyone to Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews. Today with Thomas and the all-new Lexus NX. In this case the version 300h. This is the hybrid version, 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine together with an electric drive. In this case 2 electric drives, because we have the optional second one for the all-wheel drive in the rear. There's also a turbo petrol engine available, then of course no hybrid with 2 liters of displacement. That is actually more expensive. Why I'm also going to explain you later, because, well, let me just give you one hint right now. Toyota is really doing so much hybrid engine that this one actually easier to produce for them. So, and what else is important with this car? It is a compact SUV from Lexus, the new one. You know, maybe already knew the Lexus RX, the big SUV. This one here is only 14 centimeters shorter. Well, maybe a quite a strange decision if you think compared to the RX, but this one, can already tell you right now, will be the most selling Lexus in the future. And I'm going to explain it to you today why, with the exterior, interior and the driving experience. By the way, you know, Autogefühl is and will remain a totally free service. However, there are several ways of supporting us. One new way is linked in the video description. It's this Patreon website where you can actually donate something monthly just on a free basis. And this is totally huge. I've just done it a few days ago and always some of you are supporting me there. That really means a lot to me because, you know, I have also to pay our team, a lot of people involved with our reviews, and so we can keep on what we're doing, even increase our service and maybe do some more special stuff even. So that's also a great way to support Autogefühl. Now let's continue with the next review. So 4.63 meters in length, that is really long for a compact SUV. It's the same actually as the Volvo XC60, 4.64 meters. And these two then are kind of the biggest in the compact SUV size. The most ones are smaller, but also the new Mercedes GLC, they have made it longer than the GLK, so the manufacturers are moving up their compact SUVs, making them longer, making them bigger, because small SUVs are growing up from below. That's kind of the reason for it. In this case, I've already told you, it's just a little bit shorter than the Lexus RX, but it's way cheaper, about 15k cheaper than the bigger brother here from Lexus. Therefore, this one will also be a major success. How can they actually make it relatively cheap? Because also if you compare it to Volvo and Mercedes and put the same engines in there, also BMW and Audi, this is actually a quite good deal in the price-performance ratio. So they are mostly some €1,000, at least in Germany, below the other manufacturers. I think in the USA it's even bigger, the difference. So, and how actually can they do it? Well, this car is similar to the Toyota RAV4. This is also the compact SUV from Toyota, and they are sharing the same basis, kind of, and also sharing a lot more parts. Of course, Lexus is still more expensive. Think about 7,000 to 8,000 euros in the entry version. This one is starting at 40,000 euros here in Germany, and that's of course because this here is the premium class. However, if you just start here with design, and I'm making way free for a total look now at the car, if you look at this, is this really also a premium design? I'm not quite sure of it. It is a very dramatic design. But just think about it. Also looks kind of as the new Hyundai Tucson, or maybe it also could be in Mazda CX-5, or what do you think? Looking here at the exterior at the front, this is really dramatic, and some of you might remember some of our very early viewers in 2013 as we were on the IAA, the International Auto Show in Frankfurt. This was presented as a concept and everyone said, oh, what the hell is this? The designers have used a samurai sword to design this car. And so dramatic it has remained actually. The LED daytime running lights on both sides, you see, they simulate this Lexus L, and this is the same in the rear. I'll also soon show you, but more dramatic is even here, this front grille with this curved structure. And we will also find it in the interior, which is quite nice. So it's really dramatic design. And so also very much different than the other premium competitors. However, not so different, as I said, as the non-premium competitors. What else you see in the front? You see this one, these are the horizontal fins. This is the executive line and also will remain the same in the other lines, except for the F Sport line, the sports version then, you know, other bumpers, other alloys, blah, blah, blah. And then the front grille is also different because it has this waffle structure then. You don't have any horizontal stuff here, but just have a black waffle structure than in the F Sport line. The rear shows the same dramatic design, especially with this high upcoming rear taillights, again with this L here. This is okay, mirrored, but then you have a proper L on the other side. And I'm not really a fan of these taillights because they're just not fitting to any design language I know so far. Really something different, and I think the rear is also quite kind of bulky. Also this part here is very prominent in my opinion, but also give me your opinion here on the rear part. Do you really resemble here the L and the L there? I had to read it first that I could really see it. This is the key, by the way, with a nice simulated leather surface. Very well done, I think. You can open the trunk right here or below the Lexus logo. This one here is the electric version, has a small beep. And then I've also shown you that in the Skoda Superb Combi review, if you stop it actually at some point, let's say here for example, it's basically the same function. Hold it and then the car memorizes how high it actually can go if maybe there's a low basement garage or something like that. Then let's push it higher first again, that I can really access it. You see there isn't so much space left here in the trunk, 550 liters only, and that is because of the battery. It goes quite in there, that's quite okay, but if you look below that here, there's a lot of space below left here, and that would be even bigger if there wasn't the battery below here. It also says here with the battery side. So not exactly in the hybrid version, it's not a high loading carrier. Then I can flip the seats, that's actually no problem. Then you can see how long actually the loading area goes when I flip the seat. I have to do it manually here from the side. And we got this 2/3, 1/3 split here. This one can also be turned, and then we got an even loading surface. So actually, this was done to have this even loading surface, and then you have the space below that even still. So I think with being able to flip the seats, it's still quite okay here, because it's also quite a long car. And then you can also put some stuff in there. But again, there are other cars in this class which master this display pin better. You know, we here at Autogefühl, we have been discussing about the safety mechanism of these electric hatches. The latest cars failed to do so. Let's try it right here. Let's open it, and then just hold my arm here. No reaction. But it's not opening too hard, it's quite slowly. And now what's even more important when closing, I'm not sure what they're thinking. Why isn't anyone including any safety mechanism in here? I've heard Volvo does so, and I will definitely test it with the next Volvo I have. Actually, it will be in quite a few days, so that won't be any problem. There we'll definitely test it then. But here again, failed. This is dangerous in my opinion. Let's open the door and check out these handles. Very long, sharp here at this side, and something very different, but they're quite solid. Feels like great quality. And then we see the inside. And what we can see are the executive line seats, real leather. You know, I would never recommend that. more details to that also later. You can see this is the structure of the seats here with this contrast stitches, but there are also Fox leather seats available in fabric. Then the steering wheel, first impression of that. In general, you see it's a very sporty interior just from the style, and already looks quite of high class, and a lot of side support here with the seats. They're perforated, but there's no vented seats here in this kind of version. Let's take a look at the cockpit. First of all, you see the design scheme from the outside, from the front grille, is carried over into the interior, and that's a very clever idea. You see the same frame that is around the front grille is here and in the same structure. Really great in design. We also have an analog clock here, which is kind of untypical for this segment here. However, on design side, very well done. But on the other hand, you don't have this classic SUV style that you have a lot of space here. The cockpit, the front dashboard, comes into the interior quite strong and doesn't leave you so much space. And I'm not quite sure what to think of that. I rather prefer the SUVs that have a lot of space, high window spaces, and also space around the dashboard here. You see, if you see the windows here behind me, they're also kind of a little bit slimmer. Also the front windscreen is not that kind of steep, it's rather flat. So it's more like a normal sports car raised above here as an SUV styling. So that's the new concept. Also same to the all-new Mercedes GLC, by the way. We've explained you it on the world premiere. That's different than the normal GLK so far, which was this classic SUV style. Well, obviously a lot of manufacturers think we do these more sporty SUVs, also from the interior and from the exterior then. But I'm looking forward to your opinion on this kind of issue then. Everything else on the interior, I think everything is really high class. So they've got a very high quality here. I guess this is Fox leather here on the dashboard. All the surfaces feeling very great, and also the knobs you turn here or just when you press them, really very good quality. So Lexus has found a very good way here, although the design is not, it's also kind of radical here also on the inside, because you get the line here, line there, then here something again is not that clean than the competitors actually. But just from the quality impression, it really evens the competitors, or maybe at some point is even on top of them. Not that great, I think, are the buttons on the steering wheel. However, the steering wheel itself has a good surface, also the right size in my opinion. And so I just feel very good when turning it. Then let's turn on the power button, just without pressing the brakes, that we have the instruments illuminated. And then you see we got, well, rather classic analog instruments. We go into the details there also very soon, that you can show, see what are all on there. And then we got a central screen up above here. We got the screen right now that shows you how actually the battery is being loaded or being power deducted from. And then I can also, of course, switch the screens, more details on that soon later. Then we got also the temperature. This looks a little bit cheap, I think. Maybe a little bit clearer glass would be good here, that we can see it. But just really going into the details. And there are also some nice details in the lower middle console. I'll also show you that one soon. Overall, I think it's a really high-class interior. But again, you have to like this sporty style and this very narrow style. The seats, they are really absolutely comfortable. One of the best seats I've sit in here so far. You maybe know from other reviews, I usually prefer the Volvo seats, especially in the XC60, for example. They are really great just for my body, but of course it's very individual. And these seats here, just from the form, I think they're giving you a lot of side support and being very comfortable at the same time. One of the best, as I said, so far. However, the surface, this is the pure leather seat now here in the executive line. I would not go for that because you really sweat on it, and you know there's also the animal rights issue, of course. But it's actually no problem here because you get the fabric seats, and there's also an option available called Eco Lux, and that is the Fox leather seat. If you're one of the Lexus NX owners and have these Ecolux seats, please give up the feedback what you think about the seats and what you have made some experience with them, if they are really good. Also for climate function wise, I would be really interested in that one. But if you pick the higher trim levels like this one, Executive line or the F Sport line or the Luxury line, you automatically get the rear leather, which is not good. I think you should split that or make it an option or something like that. So this is the basic cockpit overview. Now let's get into the details just for one more second. Let's get into the details. If we really start the engine now, then we just put the drive mode. You see it's a little bit complicated. You have to do it exactly like this. To the right, down, 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 and now to the D mode. Too complicated, I think. And when we start driving, you see that the battery is being used to drive, and well, quite soon the engine, the normal engine actually, is activated, and then you see on the left side the battery is giving power to the engine, is assisting it, and when I just hold the brake, it charges again. That's basically how the system works. More to that in the driving review. Let's now look at the screen. You see it right here. This is the monitor which is showing me, okay, red cross means the normal engine is on the 2.5 liter engine, petrol engine, and then we got two electric engines here. The second one is optional for 1,500 euros. Then you get the all-wheel drive. Usually just the front one is from serial production, and the right part shares a battery. And there we can see what is actually happening when I push the throttle. Now you see red for the normal petrol engine, yellow for the battery. But if I go on the brakes now, it stops. Now the real engine is offline. And I can also go to the EV mode. Well, not available right now. It says battery too low. You see only 2 stripes from the battery. That's really too pity, but I can show you how the battery is being loaded here on that system. So when I'm accelerating now and now get on the brakes, you see the blue arrows and they show me that the battery is being refilled. Then the details of the climate buttons, they are also well processed and you can reach them very well actually. Well, that's the reason, because this dashboard is going so far into the interior. And one more shot at the analog clock. And you surely want to see the rest of the menu up there. What else is there available? You control it with the key below. I can show you that very soon as well. And then, so it's not a touchscreen. Then you can also show the climate function here. You can also control them here, the temperature, but I think that's kind of useless. Why should you? Why shouldn't you just use the direct buttons I've just shown you? Let me turn the ones on again. But what is actually a very good function, let's get back there again, is it says fast or soft, and I've put it to soft, and this is a really great mode because then the air really comes as a soft flow, and I've experienced it as a very well feeling then. Then let's look at the GPS. So it takes some loading time actually, and you see, oh, this is kind of old school style. In my hometown. I didn't test it so far how it reacts, but you see just from the styling here, it's really kind of old school, just to show you a first impression of that. And something else, this auto, that would be actually the screen with the battery and so on. And maybe just some setup settings, what you can do with the vehicle settings. You can, for example, here, this means the door lock, that you can, for example, change if the car is driving and it automatically locks the door. Just for the example. And you get a hotkey to the audio, that you can change your Bluetooth audio. For example, I always connect my iPhone in there. Then here in the front, there you have the driving modes. You can push for the normal driving mode or sport on the right side. Then the battery boosts the normal engine. The maximum acceleration is 9.2 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers. Not too fast actually. But it's also not a racing car. And then Eco, then the battery is assisting a little bit. Not that much, but just to get the consumption a little bit lower. Usually, but whatever, leave it with normal. Turning off the DSC and the EV mode I've talked about. If you activate it, as long as the battery is basically loaded, you can, for example, just use it in a neighborhood that you can park in silently. automatic parking brake, and then this is the central control knob where you can control the screen. Also feels quite good. Push it to activate something and turn it, and then you can also press menu or use the back button. And then it gets even more exciting. There you can rest your arm on. And then what's that one here? First of all, you can open the central armrest. This is also for your mobile phones here. And if you put this one on, you can charge your mobile phones wirelessly as soon as they are compatible to it. And then USB slot also to put something more in it. A quite funny feature is this one here. This is a makeup mirror. Don't you believe me? It is. Quite funny thing. Not sure why they're having it that loose. Usually you just use the upper part. Then let's get in the rear. You see great coupe style at the right end here. Same door handles. When you see it's the same design of the seats of the inside and in the front. This, by the way, at the lower part, this is the lever to flip the seats as I've shown you from the trunk. Let me get inside to see how much space we actually got. I've told you 4.63 meters, quite a long SUV, and then we also have a lot of knee space here. Look at that. That's really an advantage of having quite a long compact SUV. There's no panoramic roof in here, so I still have this kind of headspace. I think that's really good. Actually, there are two kinds of panoramic roofs available. One which is really going through the glass roof, and another one which is not going through all the way, but then you can open it. I would always pick that one that you can actually open, and it's actually quite funny that both are available. Hardly any car ever seen that offers both of these possibilities. You see, as the rear seats are now, I'm falling back kinda. That it would be one solution if I maybe want to sleep. But then if I use the lever here to turn it completely, I can also adjust how the rear seats are actually just from the angle. I think that is a very good solution. You don't find it all the time. Because, for example, when I'm sitting here in the back, I also prefer to sit rather upright. And that is also good for a compact SUV here. You can really also have an upright seating position here in the back. However, also we've seen other cars which offer more space here, because also here this letter C pillar, it comes really close to my head. So it's not the most spacious feeling in here, but the legroom is really great. Let's check out the engine, how it actually looks like. You see, this is a 2.5 liter petrol engine, naturally aspirated. You know, I prefer the naturally aspirated one because they usually last longer, and still a classic kind of displacement. Only 155 horsepower from this petrol engine here, and that's not exaggerated. They like some of the small turbo engines. There's also the 2 liter turbo engine available. It is 2 seconds faster from 0 to 100 kilometers, so better performance, although we also have the electric drive. You see, this is here the area for the electric drive, one electric drive here, and there's also a second electric drive in the rear, not where the battery is, a little bit more in the front. You will see it also on the visualization on the interior here on the screen. That is very exciting as well. So we have the second option here with a second electric drive here, 1,500 euros, that you also get an all-wheel drive with this car. It is a question if it is really useful to have a hybrid where you cannot plug in a cable. I would generally say no, it's not that useful. However, Toyota, as they're producing so many hybrid engines in this way, they can offer it quite cheaply, also because they not use the lithium-ion battery pack, but the nickel metal hydride pack, which is cheaper to produce. Also talking about that one while driving. So, well, it is kind of cool to have an electric engine, even if it's not plugged in. Show you also later while driving, because it's kind of nice to drive around just electrically in your neighborhood, maybe if you charge the battery on the motorway or something like that. But it's really necessary, and it is useful. I rather not. Then I would rather go for a fully electric car, or at least a plug-in hybrid. But if you just have this hybrid drive here without plugging in, I think this one that are produced by Toyota Lexus, they are definitely the best ones that are on the market, the most evolved ones. So let's drive around. And sometimes you don't know if the engine is actually turned on or turned off, because you usually start silently unless the engine is, the battery is totally empty. Now, for example, I start silently. Also says EV, green EV in the left part here. And then I really enjoyed it, just driving very silently. I love that. Therefore, I also love electric cars. Even, you know, there's an environmental discussion that they are not really as eco as they're supposed to be, because in the production process, it's also kind of, well, extended from using the resources when having these electric engines then. However, Toyota, for example, with their hybrid drives, how can they actually offer this car cheaper than the version with the turbo engine? That's really crazy. When they have sold 7.5 million cars with this kind of hybrid drive here so far, with a nickel metal hydride battery. This is different from the lithium-ion battery. And this one here is easier to produce, less expensive, but also doesn't have so much capacity. But it's long-lasting, and so also cheap in the long run. However, well, it does help me a little bit here also to get the consumption down. For example, when I'm going down, maybe let's say we're going down a hill, for example. Then it helps me to save fuel, because then I can reload the battery quite easily without using extra power. But generally, you cannot really compare it to the plug-in hybrid. As I've seen the consumption here now, usually I was ending up, now I'm about, well, now I just driven a long way with the EV and now downhill, that's what, 4.8, but usually you will end out about 8 liters per 100 kilometers. I think that's still quite okay with the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated petrol engine. It's not the most powerful one, but I think it will also last quite long, as it has a lot of displacement still and not too much horsepower from it, only these 155. And now you listen, when I really push down the throttle, then you hear going high up the RPMs. You know, that doesn't sound too pretty actually. So this car is really not for racing, not for driving that fast. And in combination here with the battery, you really tend to drive relaxed and want to have something of a game to reload the battery. So I'm always activating here the screen. Let me activate it right now to see when is actually the battery charged. And sometimes you go from one traffic light to another just in the pure electric mode then. Now the normal engine is actually turned on. If I lift the throttle now, it turns off. Now I'm just driving with the electric drive. And if you brake, you don't try to hammer the brakes, you just push them very gently, because first of all, the recuperation is happening, that the battery is recharged. And then, if you even need more braking, then the normal brakes set in. And so you try to use all of the rolling power you have to recharge the battery. You know, and so you brake a little bit earlier, maybe, not too hard, to get the maximum reloading of the battery. And you can, as I said, you can get something like a game from it. It's quite funny, actually. And so I really don't think this car is underpowered, because some other colleagues, journalists, say, oh, such a bad car, so totally underpowered, doesn't make any sense. All the BMW diesels are better to drive. And yes, a BMW diesel with 3 liter is really great to drive, no doubt about it. But this is just a different concept here. And you don't really need to race in an SUV, I think. Also, it was criticized that this car is only running 180 kilometers an hour. I mean, come on. Do you need to drive 250 in a compact SUV? What the hell? I think someone who's writing this or saying this is not a real good automotive journalist, because you can never tell your viewers to drive more than 180 with your compact SUV, otherwise you would be insane. So in general, I think the driving is very comfortable. It's not the softest ride, but also not the hardest ride. It's something in between. I think they found a quite good mix in here. And the very comfortable seats, they pay tribute to this ride here as well. So I really feel totally comfortable in this car. However, a little bit hot with the seats, as I told you earlier, as soon as it gets a little bit warmer. So I would go with the fabric seats. Or maybe this Eco-Lock seat, maybe they are even better, but maybe some of you knows actually. So the BMW, for example, the X3 has a definitely better driving dynamics, no question about it. But I think this is just something different here. You also feel differently to others in this interior. And so this special approach, I think they've done it very well, and it's even better than the RX, for example, because the RX is way bigger even and also kind of heavier, so you feel more agile in this car. Generally, I think they have found a good mix here between having something of the sportiness and something of being a very comfortable car, so it doesn't go in either direction too much, I think. Just from the feeling here, you know what you see, this is more the sportiness, but what you feel from driving is not as something as hard as you see it. But in general, I think the most important is that it's really superb comfortable here in the seats here. And that is one of my, well, I think one of the biggest strengths here of the car. Rear view camera, besides it's quite complicated to get into the rear gear. You see a very good resolution here. Maybe I wouldn't have liked to see so much of the number plate in there, but everything else I think very good. You can see very wide still and also very clear vision. Optional, of course, or included in the higher trim levels. Let me conclude about the all-new Lexus NX 300h in this case, but in general, of course, about the Lexus NX. It will definitely be the most selling Lexus in the future because it is really a great car for a good price-performance deal in this premium segment. It's a little bit shorter than the RX, but already offers a lot of space also for the rear passengers in the knee space, and is really so comfortable to drive. I wouldn't think about wanting to have an RX actually, because when you have this comfortable ride with this great form of seats actually, you don't think, okay, I need even more comfort with having a bigger car. That's actually not a real thought here. The exterior, however, I'm not really a fan of it because I think it rather looks like the non-premium competitors from Japan especially. And I think, well, it is something different than the other premium competitors, but I'm not really a fan of it. What do you think? Of course, yes, it is quite dramatical. That's actually quite good because then you can really differentiate yourself from other premium SUVs. That's so far. From the interior, generally you have this sports kind of cockpit style. I would rather prefer this classic SUV style where you have a lot of space and also huge windows and so on. But the quality is really superb. I'm really satisfied with that. Everything is so well executed. So the overall impression of this car is really a very high quality. And you also feel like the car would be lasting quite long, especially now with its hybrid drive. They say the battery doesn't need any work on, while, you know, doesn't need any special service. That's actually also one advantage then. The naturally aspirated engine should also last long quite. Well, maybe one aspect would be that when it's always going out and being in and out again, you know, because it's not running all the time, I'm not sure if this will cause any problem. But in general, the Toyota or Lexus hybrid system, they are quite evolved, and so they actually know what they are doing. So I think this car really, especially because it's even a little bit cheaper than the other premium competitors, for example from Germany or from Volvo, if you have the comparing engines. And then I can really think it's a really good deal, because for now the 40,000 euros, where you maybe just get the normal turbo petrol engine with the other competitor and pay some euros more, here you already get the electric drive, at least a little bit. And it's always something special to have a battery in the car already right now. And you know, I've also shown you some situations where you can actually use it quite usefully. So in general, I think they have really built a very good car here. Or what's your opinion on that one? Also looking forward to that. And I hope to see you at the next Autogefühl episode.